Hi, it's been so long since I've made an earlier video, video earlier that I have so much to talk about. I can tell I haven't groomed myself entirely well, but I think I'm presentable for the camera. The first thing I want to talk about is my screenplay project. Second thing I want to talk about is my website, and the third thing I want to talk about, touch on briefly, I guess, is my discovery of something remarkable in the Torah. So let's get right to it. First of all, my screenplay project. I've talked about this before, uh, many videos before. Earlier, at the beginning of my channel, I talked about a movie project I wanted to create that features Madonna in the movie project as a character. And I finally have a screenplay. Um, I hope that I hope it's proper to mention it's Madonna related. I haven't talked with, I haven't done anything beyond this, but I just wanted to say I'm very proud that the script itself is polished. It's shaping up to be what I envisioned for so long. Um, I wanted something with the um, with the smart writing and dialogue of uh, Preston Sturges, Billy Wilder, and as if it were directed by Peter Bogdanovich, which is pretty high praise and high high goals to shoot for. I think it has real potential. I think I have a lot of interesting themes in it. It has elements of Kabbalah. It has elements of the music industry, of course. It has distinctive characters. It has a real voice. It says something. It's in the tradition of screwball comedy from the 30s. Well, I want to say early 40s as well. Um, think of, for those of you who are aficionados of screwball comedy, screwball romantic comedy, think of Bringing Up Baby and His Girl Friday and My Man Godfrey. And I liked Love Crazy, but I haven't seen that in such a long time. It's reminiscent of those films, and I can honestly say it is reminiscent of those films. However, updated to the 1980s when it takes place, when this movie takes place, and it says what I wanted to say all along. I wrote a first film attempt of this in 1998 as my college graduation approached, and I've stuck with it. Um, I have I have never forgotten it. On and off, life comes in, and you have to deal with life and other matters at hand. But I've stuck with it, and I'm proud for having stuck with it. And as I've told some friends, including my girlfriend, um, one, I want to check mark this off as finally having completed this project of mine. It feels like lifelong project of mine. Two, I think it really deserves to be produced and to for the world to see it. Um, it has a lot of appeal, I believe. Three, um, it would give me a lot of money, which I certainly need right now. I began a new job. I had to kept track of the weeks I've been at this job, but from what I'm told, it's been about 5 weeks, going on six. Yeah, this coming week. Um, where was I with that? I certainly need the money, and I think it should show my classmates and former classmates from high school. You maybe you understand what I'm talking about. You never, or at least I never have stopped wanting my classmates, my former classmates, to understand what I've been capable of, what I was capable of then when I didn't really socialize that much in school. I mean, I was friendly, but so forth. That goes off on a tangent. I just wanted to show off and demonstrate what I was capable of, what I am capable of now. I suppose I have a thrill basically for demonstrating my skills. Maybe that's true of every artist, and um, hopefully I'll be able, with some collaboration, hopefully I'll be able to meet truly one of my one of the muses in my life, like vicariously. Spielberg is one, Madonna is another, and hopefully she will really appreciate it. Um, and so what I'm saying is basically I've got a really solid screenplay. I think that really works well, and I've gotten some feedback that it does work really well. So um, I also wanted to talk about my second thing. I have a business certificate. I'm working as a DBA. It's called Visionary Ventures. It's the name of this channel, Visionary Ventures Productions. The website is vvproductions.media, and it has a lot of merch. It has other things I describe. I have pages about who I am and my music alter ego. Um, However, I wanted to put a plug in for the merchandise that I'm selling on the site. There's apparel, there's a mug, and I want to put in other things, but I chose to limit it to a few select things. I know I haven't been on this channel recently. Um, I've just been distracted by the screenplay. That comes first, in my opinion. Um, but hopefully, you will go there, you will check it out, and all of the merchandise purchased, all the proceeds, as they say, go to my film projects, my music, and supporting this channel so that I can upgrade. You see, right now, upgrade the look and the production value of this channel. There's so much I want to talk about. I want to interview people. I haven't interviewed people. I haven't even set up interviews. I was about to interview somebody in the comic book industry who's attached with or associated with the Transformers franchise. I put that on hold. It's just my day job, which is my 9 to 5 job, whatever you want to call it, fluctuates between 7 a.m. to 3 p.m. the morning shift and 3 p.m. to 11 p.m. It depends on which day I'm working, and sometimes I don't work a particular day. It just fluctuates. My schedule fluctuates. So, unfortunately, that prevents me from setting up interviews for the long term. But I do want to continue with this channel. As one friend said, I have a lot to share with the world. Um, and that includes this movie. Um, so I want to upgrade this. I have an iMac 2015 iMac right now, and I know the production values aren't that great. I've been using, thanks to a lifetime subscription to One Min AI, um, I can be able to produce opening theme, opening title sequences, and raise the production value with AI generated video and sound effects and all that other good stuff. I just want to I want to upgrade the quality of this channel to what it ought to be, what it deserves to be. I want to interview important people. I want to continue producing those podcasts. You know, I have, I think, something like 5 podcasts. I have one called the Paranormal Blind Spot, in which I want to do something like unsolved mysteries and in search of, but I want to do something like what AJ does with the Y files. I want to begin covering a typical, a real UFO case, and then towards the second half, start explaining an alternative explanation. Give give evidence that could provide a more earthly explanation. But that's not to say that I debunk all of it. I'm fascinated. I that's not to say that I um, don't think that there's merit in it. I think there is in ufology, um, but I just find it fascinating that um, these cases could have other explanations, and it says something about psychology and sociology and so forth, and a little bit maybe of theology. So that takes me on. That takes me to my other point. I have been writing a book called The Torah Decoded. Um, it's not like probably other books that you've read or documentaries you've seen. I want to produce a documentary alongside this. What I do is propose a who, where, why, and what, I guess, who, where, why, and how, and when. The Torah, the first 5 books of the Jewish Bible, um, the Pentateuch, however you call it, the Chumash means 5. Um, how it was written, who possibly wrote it, when it was possibly written, and how, um, and explain the intricate, not linear, but like holistic, like whole picture diagrams. You see, from what research I've gathered, the Torah can be read linearly as it typically is. However, there are key moments, there are key bits of text that seem repetitive or seem odd in the way they're worded. And of course, you don't get this in the English translations. Talking about the actual Hebrew, those are structured that way because there is a hidden structure. Each book has a hidden structure. All 5 books, when assembled, form a vertical and horizontal cross. I don't mean Christian cross. I don't want to get into Christian cross or whatever. That's a whole other thing. But um, it does form a horizontal and a vertical method. It's very clear when you see it. And there are other intricate aspects. There are aspects that I hope this book and this documentary will explain why they are the way they are. One aspect I'm really, really excited about having found is the 3 patriarchs: Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and Joseph, actually Joseph, and also Joshua. Um, Narum Su, I forget Naruma. I'm butchering his name, but it's been long known that the lifespans of these patriarchs form a mathematical formula pattern. Um, it's something like 3 times 5 squared, 3 times 7 squared, 5 times 6 squared, something like that. There's a clear formula. Like one is one set of numbers, one column of numbers is ascending, the other column is descending, and one of them is squared. and they form there's a mathematical pattern, and the numbers themselves add up to, I believe, 17. All numbers add up to 17, aside from the square, the squarings. Um, and I found another pattern. Um, oh, and then the final, there's Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and then Joseph and Joshua both die at age 110, and um, that's the age you get. That's the number you get when you add each of these numbers of your earlier patriarchs. You you add three squared plus, or 3 squared plus five, no, 5 squared plus 6 squared plus 7 squared, something like that. It adds up to 110. The other exciting thing I've known about that. The new exciting thing is that the names Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Of course, those are the English translations from the Greek. Um, the actual Hebrew names. Kabbalah. Um, uh, um, the term Kabbalah is so strong in my head right now. Excuse me. The the methodology whereby each letter has a certain numerical value, and I'm blanking on what that is, but it's something very common in Kabbalah. Um, if you take each letter in, for example, Abraham's name, if you take each letter in Abraham's name and or Avram's name, not Abraham because that comes later. Avram's name, his original name, um, you add up the values of each of those letters, you get something that's a multiple of 26. And then you take Isaac's name and you take, well, first of all, I want to explain the thing with Avram and Abraham. If you know the Bible, you would probably know that Elohim, usually translated in English as God, but in Hebrew it's Elohim. And my book and documentary will talk about um, the difference between those two facets of the deity, the Jewish deity, the Israeli deity. Um, Elohim steps in and says, "You will be a father of many." And then Avram's name gets the letter He, which you could say in English is H, added to his name. So that explains that. Isaac's. So we have the letters in his name, his original name, adding the values, adding to a multiple of 26. I forget the exact number. I think it's 6 times 26. Like for the sake of discussion, I'll say 6 times 26. Isaac's name, the letters add up to 7 times 26. And then Jacob's name, the letters add up to 8 times 26. So it's 6, 7, 8 each times 26. And 26, before I go into explaining 26, I want to say that thanks to Moshe Klein, who wrote his own book about the structure of the Torah, the visual layout structure, hidden structure, um, he found 86 units, distinct units, as if whoever wrote this intentionally constructed it as 86 units. So the name Elohim has a numerical value, just like I was saying before, that adds to 86. So when I discovered that, wow, I wondered if somewhere there's 26, and because that would be the equivalent of the letters in Yud Hey Vav Hey. In English, in the English translations of the Bible, Yud Hey Vav Hey is is presented, in the translation, it's simply presented as the Lord, but that's not what Yud Hey Vav Hey actually is. I could go into that later in other videos, and I have. Yud Hey Vav Hey essentially means being or existing. That's known as the Tetragrammaton, God's like personal name, the deity's personal name. So there are two. What I'm saying is there are two common alternate name, two common names. The most primary names are Yud Hey Vav Hey, which is where you get ultimately you get Jehovah from. Actually, it according to my research from what I've gathered, the proper pronunciation, because the vowels are typically not written. Sometimes they have been in copies of texts, copies of the Torah. The vowels have crept in, and from what I've learned, it the correct pronunciation would be Yehovah. Um, Actually, to be more precise, in Hebrew, there's a difference in vowel pronunciation between ah and all. So to correctly pronounce it, it's Yehovah. Um, and of course, the y became a j, pronounced as a j. So that's where you get Jehovah from. So Yehovah, the consonants add up to 26, and Elohim, the consonants add up to 86. So, and 26 is one less than 27. And there's another researcher, Stan Tenen, who wrote a book called what was it? Uh, it's a fascinating book, the alphabet that changed the world. Um, so I saw some connection in that in the number 27. If you take 27, if you take one from 27, you get 26, which seems to be Yud Hey Vav Hey's value, numerical value plus. It seemed to be intentional that um, when the author or authors, I believe it was a team of authors getting together to write all five books, um, constructed these names: Abram, Isaac, and Jacob. Um, and those are specifically not just multiples of 26, but their names follow as each successive, father to son, Abraham, or no, Abram, Isaac, and Jacob. Um, the multiples, what multiple it is, the multiple of 26 increases, as I was saying before. I think it's 6, 7, 8. It might be 5, 6, 7. I'm pretty sure it's 6, 7, 8. Um, those of you with calculators watching this, you can check on your own if you know Hebrew. Um, so that's a clue that 26 was intentional. And what's really fascinating is that these names weren't just random. Um, the odds are stacked against randomness when coming up with these names. Um, it's as if they could only pick. There were only a certain number of choices. Maybe those are the only choices they could pick in order to get that mathematical pattern. So that's why those three patriarchs have those names. Um, and of course, in the text itself, it gives an explanation. He was named Isaac because of laughter, and he was named Jacob because he healed. Literally, Jacob means heal, one who heals. Um, but I think actually they came up with these names, and then they came up with some explanation to write into the text as to why those names were chosen. But it seems clear to me that it was mathematically; those names were mathematically chosen, and it seems that around the outskirts of, in my research, I found around the outskirts where one of those, remember those 86 units, where one unit connects with another, the outskirts there, you often have some kind of mathematical formula, or some kind of reference to 26. Um, so I believe these writers. I believe there's more than one writer, because it's very difficult just to make one it's just difficult, I believe, for one writer to compose all five books. And also because there were several different disciplines. Um, there was somebody, um, again, I can't remember. Oh my gosh, I used to say this a lot, and then I thought people wouldn't understand what I was talking about, so I guess I just quit talking, using that term. But I'll just say numerology. I don't mean the stars or zodiac. I literally mean using numbers for significant symbolic value. Um, there was certainly in writing the Torah, there was certainly a field of numerology used, like a specialist in numerology working on it. There was a specialist in structure, um, and I'm saying that there were several different fields of interest that went into writing this. And I want to get down to in this book. I've written some drafts of it, um, and I have a friend who volunteered to become an editor. I'd like to pursue that too. That's why this YouTube channel is so important to me. That's why buying that merchandise, or selling the merchandise, gaining money from that merchandise can go um, into developing things like a documentary and that book and so forth. I'm hoping. I'm not revealing everything, but just want to say that with the movie project, that means a lot in terms of possibly getting representation and developing a real artistic career that I've always fantasized. I've always had my heart and mind set on. Um, so it's almost 30 minutes. I don't want to take too long, but go to vvproductions.media, buy a t-shirt, I think there's a sweatshirt, there's a white glossy mug. I'd like to add other things. They're high quality. Right now, they just have one design, which is this YouTube channel's logo, which is the genie that I've nicknamed, was it Sophie? I have to come up with I want to finalize the name. Right now, it's just a green female genie, and I think it looks nice. But I want to add in other merchandise too. I want to add in my music, like add in downloadable music, and I have 5 albums in progress. I have a lot of stuff. So um, I don't want to I don't want to come across like I'm hawking my stuff, but I guess I am, for a good cause, for a very good cause. So, with that having been said, I hope you have a good day, good evening, whenever you're watching this, and I'll talk with you next time.